Now, in Daniel 2, we see that Nebuchadnezzar had a dream that troubled him. And he had all these interpreters come to interpret that dream, and none could get it right. But then, of course, Daniel came to him and interpreted the dream to Nebuchadnezzar. Now, Nebuchadnezzar saw this great image in the plain, and he saw a head of gold, arms and chest of silver, a torso of brass, and 2 legs of iron. Now, many commentaries, like the Jameson, Fawcett, and Brown commentary, other commentaries will prove to you that these are the 4 world-ruling empires that were to rule the world right down to our day today. The head of gold, of course, is Babylon. The chest and arms of silver are the Medo-Persians. The torso of brass is Greece, and the legs of iron is the Roman Empire. Now, when we get down to the feet and toes, this is where I believe the Protestant churches and the Seventh-day Churches of God have missed the clues into, when we get to the feet and toes, they have missed the vital key that unlocks this prophecy. And when you understand this vital key, you can understand what's going on in Daniel, the 11th chapter, verses 40 through 45, and who actually fights Christ at his coming. Notice what it says here in Daniel, the 2nd chapter, and starting in verse 40. And the 4th kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdue all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. Many commentaries will tell you that this is obviously the Roman Empire. Then it says this: whereas thou sawest the feet and toes part potter's clay and part iron, the kingdom shall be divided. So we get down to the feet and toes, and we see potter's clay. But then it goes on to say, but there shall be in it of the strength of iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. Here is a different type of clay. Potter's clay you can mold and shape. You see a lot of potters mold and shape this clay, and they build bowls and jars and so on. But miry clay is a different type of clay. It's non-adhesive. You can't mold it. You can't do anything with it. It's a different type of clay. And notice it says the iron is mixed with miry clay, whereas with the potter's clay it says, whereas thou sawest the feet and toes part potter's clay and part iron, the kingdom shall be divided. So the potter's clay, the kingdom is divided. The miry clay, the kingdom is mixed. And then it says, as the toes of the feet were part iron and part clay, meaning the potter's clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. Verse 43, whereas thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. Now notice verse 44. In the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom. So this is the second coming of Jesus Christ. It says in the days of these kings, the 10 kings mixed with the miry clay are going to fight Christ at his coming, which takes place after the tribulation during the day of the Lord. So before that must come the potter's clay. And the potter's clay phase comes to his end before the tribulation, since the miry clay fights Christ after the tribulation. So what we read in Daniel, the 11th chapter, verses 40 through 45, is the potter's clay phase. And we explain that all in that booklet, Middle Eastern Prophecy, step by step, to show you how it all actually fits together. Now, it says the iron is with the potter's clay. What is the potter's clay? Now remember, we must let the Bible interpret itself. Now, does the Bible actually interpret what the potter's clay is? Well, we find it in Jeremiah, the 18th chapter, verse 6. Notice what God says here. O house of Israel, cannot I do with you as this potter, says the Eternal? Behold, as the clay is in the potter's hand, so are ye in my hand, O house of Israel. So there's the key. Who is the house of Israel? Now, when you look at Old Testament history, we find that the house of Israel and the house of Judah were split into two separate kingdoms. We had the northern kingdom of the house of Israel, and then we had the southern kingdom of the house of Judah. And the house of Judah are the modern day Jews today. So it's not dealing with the Jews, it's dealing with the northern 10 tribe house of Israel. What happened to the house of Israel? What happened to the so-called lost 10 tribes of Israel? There's been much speculation about it. I remember Grant Jeffrey, back when he was alive many years ago, said the lost 10 tribes were the Jews, some Jews out in Afghanistan. Other people have speculated that it's the Jews in Africa. But again, they are not Jews. The house of Israel are not Jews. They never have been Jews and never will be Jews. The word Jew is just a nickname for Judah, one that comes from the tribe of Judah, a Judahite. That's what Jew means. It means the house of Judah, not the house of Israel. What happened to the house of Israel? Well, if you'd like to download our booklet, The United States and the British Commonwealth in Prophecy, you will find that the 10-tribe house of Israel got taken away into Assyria, that you read of in 2 Kings, the 17th chapter, 2 Kings, the 15th chapter. They got taken away in many successive waves of invasions, and they dwelt between the Black and the Caspian Sea. From there, when the Assyrian Empire fell, they migrated up through the Black and the Caspian Sea, and they migrated up into Europe. And we see the Angles, the Jutes, the Saxons. All these people are from the house of Israel, and they settled into Scandinavia and Britain. And then, of course, Britain colonized and became a great company of many nations. And Manasseh, of the tribe, one of the tribes of Joseph, called Manasseh, settled into the United States and became a great nation. And when you read in Genesis the 49th chapter and the 48th chapter, we see that Ephraim and Manasseh, Ephraim was to become a great company, a commonwealth of many nations, and Manasseh was to emerge as a great single powerful nation. And you read in Genesis the 48th chapter that Jacob crossed his hands to his two grandsons, Ephraim and Manasseh, and he said, "Let my name," that is the name of Israel, "be named on them." And then he says, "Let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth." It was a global promise. And then you read in Genesis the 49th chapter, the many promises and the many blessings that were to come upon Joseph, and he would be the chief of his brethren. And these promises and these prophecies have been fulfilled to the letter by our peoples called the United States and the British Commonwealth of Nations. We are Ephraim and Manasseh, the peoples of Canada, Britain, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, the rest of the British Commonwealth are Ephraim. The United States of America is Manasseh. We are the house of Israel. So the potter's clay is the house of Israel, modern day United States and the British Commonwealth of Nations. And it says here in Daniel 2 that we see the potter's clay with the iron. What is that? The kingdom is divided. It is partly strong and partly broken. That is a perfect fulfillment of NATO, the NATO alliance. And this is what it's speaking of in Daniel, the 2nd chapter. It is speaking of the NATO alliance that was formed after World War II. And who is the leader of NATO? Who is the founder of NATO? None other than the United States of America. And the King of the North is the President of the United States of America, and has fulfilled these prophecies in Daniel, the 11th chapter, verses 40 through 44.